So this is just a bit of a log on the past 7 days, including today. I've had an abundance of energy, and it may not appear it today because I'm a bit tired, but I'm fully aware and I'll awake, which is something that has only occurred once in the past 5 to 7 years. I remember the day I was at university, chilling out, and just had a full bucket load of energy, and I couldn't work out how I created that. So what things went into the body, into the system to enable it to use its energy correctly. So this is a video on hypothyroidism, and this video is just explaining what has happened through my experiences, so I don't expect this to be translatable to others, but I hope it is. I really do, because living with hypothyroidism is debilitating mentally in terms of your cognitive speed and ability to think, and also energy in the body. So makes the day full of lethargy, really lethargic, really feeling tired. But not just tired, it's like another depth of tiredness that is just feels like a fog of war over your brain and your body. I can just feel like you kind of spaced out a bit. So what I have done recently, which could have impacted my last 7 days of feeling pretty good, pretty amazing, to be honest. So there's a few things. There's a journey that I've been going on with Wim Hof. So Wim Hof is known as the Iceman. He's broken a load of records. He's in the Guinness, Book of World Records. And he's done a whole bunch of stuff there. I don't know specifically what, but things like climbing mountains in just his jocks, barefoot, in snow, and he's fine. So the reason why this connects in is that Wim Hof has this belief that we can tie into our autoimmune system and also control our body temperatures, which, if you have a look around, there's Tibetan monks that do this, and there's all sorts of different cases where people have been able to tell their body to warm up, and it warms up. So, as you may or may not know, hypothyroidism is a condition where the thyroid gland here, which regulates the body temperature throughout the whole system, is not working correctly. And the causes are extremely vague, and not many people can nail it down to exactly what it is. So many people suffer with this condition, and they don't really have any means to go to apart from drugs. And drugs are great. There are cases where people react badly to them. I was one of those cases. So I started seeking alternate routes. So the Wim Hof method enabled me to calm down the system a bit, and also control the temperature a tiny bit. So the bit that was really good was not the breathing techniques that Wim teaches you, but the cold exposure techniques. So being comfortable with having your body exposed to a cold shower. And that's something that you slowly move into, like limb by limb, putting it under the water, slowly exposing your whole body. So 13 days of this has been the Wim Hof method into the shower. I've actually been doing it for 20 days, but 13 days ago it started to either take effect or not. So that's one thing that is one of the building blocks to having these 7 days of energy with hypothyroidism. So the second building block is Kombutcha. So Kombutcha is a drink that has ginger, and it also has enzymes in there, so it has living bacteria. And the reason why I believe this may have helped is I started taking it the day before I started feeling really good. So I had a big meal, and normally, take a little while to digest that meal. So having this drink after it, half an hour after the meal, had maybe 2-3 sips of this drink. It's quite a potent mix. So it's not something you're going to scull down. So having that has helped digest the food and, in essence, help the body absorb all that energy. So, or the fuel, if you will. It's giving it a better ability to get the fuel into the system so that you can burn it, using energy without moving your body, thinking, and all that sort of stuff. So that is one of the second building blocks. Now the third is interesting and quite unusual. So I didn't think this would work, but the night before I woke with energy, I awoke like normally. You don't wake up. It's kind of like you just opened your eyes and you're there, and you're like. But this was like I opened my eyes and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm in the waking up, boot up sequence of the brain. I feel like I'm waking up. This is amazing. So the night before I wore these. Now these are Apple AirPods. Now they're wireless. They're pretty nice, but they just fit in comfortably, so they're not going to fall out when I'm like moving around in bed, sleeping on the pillow and stuff like that. So I put these in and I listened to a soundtrack, and the soundtrack is called a Binaural Beat soundtrack, and this one wasn't like your binaural beat music where it's like doof doof doof. You got all this. Essentially, it's just noise, extra noise that doesn't need to be in the soundtrack. So this was just straight to the point. This was a certain hertz range is in your left ear, and a different hertz range is in your right ear, and they're only slightly off, and they both come down in the amount of hertz they are. And what this does, according to some research, this is all very weird to me, but it seems like the research is saying that by bringing those tones down, you can actually change the wavelengths in your brain. So this may sound crazy, but it's not. You can get an ECG, you can see it yourself. You can actually get devices now that you can plug onto your head, and they measure the electronical signals. And if you think train, like always think of train, and then you tell the computer that is the signal for the train, then the computer recognizes it. So then you can say train, and it'll show you an image of a train. So, it's not as crazy as it sounds. So, so the concept is your brain is going into like a sleep state. So part of my thinking is maybe the brain has accumulated so much junk, which it does. And when you sleep, what happens is your brain does a cleanup process. And maybe that cleanup process isn't happening for some hypothyroids, I suppose. So possibly by getting a deep sleep, that is where you're lifting the fog because you're awakening with your mind being cleaned up, as opposed to still being in a garbage state, I guess. So it's absorbed all this garbage and it hasn't cleaned up properly. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling on about this particular point, but it feels like that is the biggest impact that I've seen in the past couple of years of being aware what diagnosis was happening to me, having a diagnosis for the condition that my body was in for the past 5 to 7 years. So, yeah, it's just one thing to consider. Two other things that I would say is bone broth is attributed to many hypothyroid sufferers or any autoimmune disease sufferers. They attribute it to their success of recovering from hypothyroidism or reducing the impact of their condition. So So one thing I did maybe about a month or two ago is, as I did a big brew slow cook of all these bones cut up into a broth of water, and use that in my cooking and things like that. So it is possible that this is like a delayed onset of the bone broth working. I'm not sure, but it's another building block to consider. And then the other thing is keep your body moving. Try and get blood circulation running through your body. So things like yoga, walking, just generally being animated is a healthy thing to do for the system. So that is all I have really. There's a couple of optional things which I've started taking post having energy, which is ashwagandha, which is an Indian herb. It supposedly helps regulate temperature in the body. So that is another thing to consider. Yes, I think that's it. That is all I have to say on hypothyroidism. If you have any comments or if you have any queries, I would be happy to share, and I'd love to have conversations with people who are having hypothyroidism, especially males actually, for me, because I couldn't find many males having this condition in my searches. And the reason why I say this is, the female system is different than the male system, obviously. So, if you're looking for information as a male, I'm hoping this can act as a source for that. And maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe both systems react the same. So it's worth giving it a shot. It's worth trying these building blocks and seeing how you go. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'll post this particular video because it's kind of weird. Should better refine it back down to maybe 6 or 8 minutes. I think 11 minutes is a bit much. So see you guys around, and have a great one. Ciao.